Hey, welcome to this week's The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles. The top 3 things you need to know to invest in commercial real estate. This is a question that came from one of our live sessions. I thought it was worth a whole topic, a whole podcast in it of itself. So we're going to talk about the top 3 things you need to know to invest in commercial real estate. So as I always say, DJ, please hit the music.
Support for this program comes from the Digital Broadcasting Network, presenting podcasts and web series from everyday people who have an extraordinary passion to make the world a better place.
Hey, and thank you for tuning in one more time to the Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles. I'm excited. Mr. Producer, do you know what episode we're on? We're on 30, 33, 34, 23, 30. On 30, sorry, 30. 30. See, y'all getting this is the behind the scenes. 30, 30. 30 times y'all have listened to me for those of you that have subscribed. So before I get into this week's topic, which I think is a great topic, I want to implore you to do a couple of things. If you're liking, really, if you like it or don't, but hopefully if you're liking what you're listening to and what you're watching, for those of you that watch the videos, please share the podcast. Please email it to your friends. Tell them about it. I'm kind of like a church right now. I'm asking for a donation, but a donation is not what I need. Money. Well, I'll take the money, but really I want you to let people know about it. I've gotten such good comments. I really enjoy this. This is part of my calling. And so I'm just asking that you let a friend know. If you have iPhones, which I know the best, you can actually text the episode to a friend. So I'm asking you to text the episode to a friend. Also, if you get a chance, go out to my website, kevinriles.com, kevinriles.com. I just wanted you to check it out. You can see the video of the podcast on that website as well. But just wanted to kind of get some general information from you guys. So please share this, send an email. I send out an e-blast on the podcast all the time. So if you're not a part of that e-blast, please email me at kevin@kevinriles.com. That's kevin@kevinriles.com. We will add you. I'll have my assistant Kelsey add you to our e-blast. I also send out our commercial listings and things of that nature and good information on that e-blast. So I'm trying to be the broker for the people. So please, when you get a chance, tell somebody about a podcast, The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles, where we talk about real estate and life. I got some life stuff coming up next month, Motivational March. That's what I'm going to call March, Motivational March. So I'm excited about that. And I hadn't even told Mr. Producer that. When I just said that behind the camera, he hit me with one of these, like, yeah, that's a good one. Motivational March. So we're going to do Motivational March. So with that, being said, I wanted to talk about, so if you guys remember, for those of you that listen on a consistent basis, a couple weeks ago, we went Facebook Live on everybody, and I had posted out there for people to give me topics or something or questions that they had and they wanted to talk about on our podcast. And so some of the questions that we got were just beyond the scope of that one particular podcast, right? So I decided to make this month, February, basically a question and answer month. Question and answer from you guys. So I'm imploring you guys, I'll give you my email address again, or you can go find me on Facebook at kevinriles.com. You can find me on the gram at Kevin Riles. You can find me on Twitter, Kevin Riles. You can find me on that Snapchat at Kevin Riles Speaks. That's the only one. Somebody had my name on that one. So, but ask me questions. I love to answer them. I think that's how we make this interactive. But I got 2 questions during that period of time that I'm actually going to combine. One of the questions was the top 3 things someone needed to know to invest in real estate. And the other question right after that was, what do I need to know to get into commercial real estate? So I'm going to combine that for our subject today. What are the top 3 things you need to know to invest in commercial real estate? Y'all see how I did that? That 1 + 1 = 2. That, the one question plus the other question equals a whole topic. So I wanted to answer that because I get that question a lot since I practice in commercial real estate. I also get this. I don't get a question, I get a statement. Oh, I can't invest in commercial real estate. It's too expensive. Right. And which can be valid. I'm not saying that it is not inexpensive to be in commercial real estate, but I wanted to kind of talk about the top 3 things that you need to know if you want to invest in commercial real estate. So thing number 1, right? one, you need to have an idea of what type of commercial real estate you would want to invest in, right? What type of commercial real estate. There are so many different types. I just left a property tour, a property walkthrough before closing of a client. I got to talking to the seller of that property, and he's a commercial real estate investor. This property is a multifamily property, and he was asking me, hey, do you have any other listings? And I was telling him, well, I don't have any other multifamily listings at this time, but I do have two industrial buildings that I'm about to list. And so I was telling him how I thought industrial buildings are a good investment because typically once you lease out an industrial building, most of those tenants are like ticks. They stay forever because especially if they have heavy equipment and things of that nature, they don't want to move all of that stuff. So they continuously stay in that particular arena. So in industrial, there's multifamily. Usually the easiest step from single family investment or residential investing to commercial is multifamily because it kind of makes sense. Instead of one house and one rent, I have now a 20 unit or a 10 unit or a 5 unit or a 50 unit or 100 unit, right? So that's usually the easiest from a brain standpoint for most investors that have been investing for a while. But there are people out there that didn't start investing in residential when they first started doing real estate investment. They started with commercial. There are what I call single tenant buildings, small single tenant buildings that you can get as low sometimes as $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 that have a single tenant that maybe you can retrofit to allow for 2 tenants, or maybe it's a single tenant building that you can renovate and lease out. So you don't necessarily have to start with a $5 million building. And most people can't. Right? Most people can't. So you need to decide what type. A very good way, if your funds are not as great as others, a good way to start in commercial investing is look for those small single tenant or dual tenant type buildings that are under $500,000. Those are great ways to start because one, your cost is not as much. Two, once you find a tenant, you can lease out for 3 to 5 years. It's not like a single family house where it's, you're changing tenants all the time. And if you can screen a good tenant, if you can provide a retail space or a office space to a small user like a lawyer or real estate agency or tax office or whatever the case may be, that's a very good way to start. So again, that's one silo: retail, office, industrial, land. Some people have the wherewithal to start with land, buy land tracts and hold on to them in the path of growth. So again, deciding what type of product or commercial product that you want is very important. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, you notice I'm saying thing. I don't know why I'm saying that, but thing number two. So number two, and I'm assuming, I don't put too much pressure on Mr. Producer, but usually what happens is when I do list, he'll kind of put like a little yellow thing and say what they are, but then that requires him to listen. He's been really busy lately, so I don't know if he's going to do that this time. So there should be usually a thing under me right now, but if not, don't hold it against him. He's a busy brother. So number two is number one is knowing what type of product you want to invest. Number two is finding out what is necessary for financing, or how do I purchase. And the reason that's important, obviously, is like you can want to invest in all types of commercial real estate, but if you can't get it financed, then it's not, you can't do it. So I'm gonna give you some tips here. I believe that everyone should have an account and a relationship with a banker. Hopefully way before you would want to invest in commercial real estate. But if not, at least starting a relationship when you decide to do that. And I believe, and this is nothing against the bigger banks out there, well, I guess it is kind of against them, but I believe that you should have your big bank account with the big players in the market, the Chases, the Wells Fargos of the world. But I also believe that you should have an account with a small community bank. Why are you saying that, Kevin? Because small community banks for small commercial real estate, to me, are the best banks because it's kind of what I consider old school banking. Your loan file goes in front of literally a committee of people, or maybe 2 or 3 people, where they look and see, okay, hey, Kevin is a strong borrower. We don't know if we like this property that much, but we like him, so we're willing to take a risk. Whereas usually the bigger banks, if it doesn't fit inside of a very specific box, then they won't do it. And they don't like small deals. Typically, they want larger deals. So I believe for those of you out there in different cities and different parts of the country, that having a relationship with a banker and a bank that is small or regional based and establish that relationship early is very important. And then you can go and say, hey, these are my financial goals. I want to start investing in CRE, commercial real estate, and I want you to guide me through what I would need to do from your standpoint to do that. And then they're more than willing typically to say, well, hey, we look at this level of debt service coverage, or for those of you that are used to residential investment debt to income ratio, it's the same thing. We're looking at this amount down. We don't really like multifamily, but we love office, or we love office, we don't like multifamily. And so getting those relationships early is so important in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate loans are different than residential loans in that residential loans have basically been formatted and standardized. You have two major players that purchase residential loans. You have Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So because they purchase them and they require this, most residential loans are all done basically the same. Commercial loans are all over the place. You have different banks that'll do different things. You have different banks that have different risk profiles as far as what they'll take on and what they won't take on. And so establishing that is uber important. And the other reason you want to get your financing is so that you know what your numbers are going to be. Hey, for commercial real estate investment, we require 30% down. Or no, because of your financial profile, we require 20% down because you have such a good, your credit is great, you have great assets, so we don't feel like there's as much risk on this particular deal. So there's no real thing, such thing as a commercial real estate pre-approval letter. Like you in residential, you get a pre-approval letter, you can go out and search for a house. But there is a thing where, I keep using thing, there's a thing where you can go out and talk to a banker and get a letter of credit, or you can get a letter saying that, based on the information we have, that Kevin is a great borrower. We still got to look at the property. But again, establishing that relationship and having bankers, to me, everyone should have a realtor. Kevin Riles, I'm saying me. They should have a realtor. They should have a CPA. They should have a banker, right? And they should have a preacher, because everybody need prayer. All right, everybody need prayer. All right, so that's your team right there. That's your team. All right, so thing number two is getting your financing looked at by a banker, and then I would say the thing number three would be to allow for partnerships. Allow for partnerships. That is not something that is readily looked at in the residential investment game, but in commercial, it is uber common. And what do I mean by allow for partnerships? Even when you buy a $500,000 commercial real estate investment, whether it be a warehouse, whether it be an office building, if you look at 20 to 25% down on that, so let's just say $20,000 down on a $500,000 commercial real estate investment, that's $100,000. Some of you out there may have $100,000. Some of you may out there have 10 times that, $1 million. And so you could do that deal. But you may decide, hey, I want to do that deal, but I want to be able to spread the wealth and buy multiple deals. So why don't you look at partnering with someone and you come up with 50 and they come up with 50? Or why don't you look at partnering with 4 other people, everybody comes up with $20,000 and now you have your 100. And again, going back to number 2, you want to check with your bank as to what they require. And the reason I say that is because commercial real estate, unlike any other, affords for great returns if you buy right and if you buy the right investment, but you also can spread the risk amongst multiple property types, but also multiple people. All right. And so if you're making a 20% return, great to make a 20% return on 100,000. But if all you have is 100,000 and you're basically betting that 100,000 on one investment, whereas if you partner with 3 other people and everybody comes up with 33,000 or so on and so forth, then you're risking that 33,000 instead of your entire 100. To a caveat, so I would say 3A would be to look at ways where you can use monies that are not your, what I call everyday money. So if you have $100,000 sitting in your savings account, to me, that's your everyday money. There are probably folks out there that have 401ks from previous jobs, or they have retirement accounts that they're no longer using or has what I call dead money that's stuck out there that's not really doing anything. You should really consider moving that money over to a self-directed IRA and allowing that self-directed IRA to invest in real estate for you. That's beyond the scope of this particular podcast. I'll do a whole, I know we did one before, but I want to get a third-party administrator out there. But that IRA can partner with another IRA, or that IRA can partner with someone else and purchase commercial real estate property. So my point is, for number 3, is you don't have to purchase commercial real estate by yourself. Now, the pushback I usually get on that is, well, I don't know if I want to invest with anyone else. Well, then it might be a little difficult for you to start in commercial real estate investing. What I always tell people is this. I have clients that will get together, pool their funds, buy a commercial property, make money on that commercial property, and yeah, maybe 4 years down the road, somebody gets mad at somebody in the partnership and the whole thing falls apart as far as the partnership, but they've made money already, and then they're gonna make money when they sell the property, right? So they've already made money. I have other clients that I can't even get them together to partner to go purchase the property, right? So if you're gonna partner with someone, obviously you're gonna need an attorney, but I always tell people it's all in the paperwork, right? I'm a clap for the kinfolk out there. They know it's all in the paperwork. When a sister ever, for those, let me do some colloquialism instruction. If African American female sister claps when she talks, then she's upset and she's trying to point. So some of y'all gonna write me letters on that. It's all good, but I know my folk, right? So if somebody says, "I told you," then that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. So a little cultural teaching in the real estate of life. That's what I'm talking about. We talk about life than the real estate of life. We talk about life. So with that being said, it's all in your paperwork. It's all in your paperwork. If you can, I've seen investors get together that don't even know each other, or maybe 2 of them know each other, and then they've brought on 2 or 3 other partners, and they all get together and they have an attorney draw up their partnership agreement, and the attorney draws up all the different, if somebody dies, what happens, if the person wants to get out, what happens, all those things is called an operating agreement, and all those things are covered. That way, hey, now does that preclude people from getting mad at each other? No. Does it preclude people from suing each other? No. But at least you have a document. The problem happens when all of us are going to buy something together. We don't put any paperwork together. We all on the loan, and now I don't want to be in the investment, or now I'm mad because the way the property is being managed, and there's no set of ground rules, legal documents. That's a problem, right? So I want to encourage you to consider partnering. Start making those relationships now. Right? So those are the top 3 things that I believe you need to be aware of when investing in commercial real estate. I know this wasn't a long podcast today. To be honest with you, I have somewhere to go. And so I just wanted to kind of drop this knowledge and move on. But I'm blessing you. I'm just telling you. I'm blessing you with these 3 things. So that is this week's The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles. I cannot wait. So February, we're going to submit questions. So again, please email me, kevin@kevinriles.com, kevin@kevinriles.com, or hit me up on Facebook, Kevin Riles, Twitter, Kevin Riles, Instagram, Kevin Riles. Submit your questions. Please submit your questions. And please share the podcast. Please share the podcast. If you're getting knowledge out of this, I really want. So February, we're going to concentrate on your questions. March is going to be Motivational March. I haven't come up with April, but it might rhyme too. I just don't know. All right, but I'll see you next week. Thanks. Hey, thanks for listening as always. Do you have questions about any of the topics I'm talking about? If you have questions, let me know. Email me at kevin@kevinriles.com. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com. I'm going to do a podcast just on the questions that you guys are sending me. So feel free to send them to me. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com.